Good morning or good afternoon, depends on when you're watching this. So today we're going to be talking about a brief history of the English language, and I'm going to try to get through this video without coughing. To get to today's lesson, you're going to log into our class, go to Tools, Assignments, down here, Anglo Saxon Background Guided Notes. And then you're going to have to download this guided notes. It'll put it in your downloads. You can open it. This is what it will look like. As you answer these questions, please put them in red or blue ink. Your answers are in red or blue ink. And we will be working with this map. Right, so the Anglo-Saxon background. A brief history of how English came to be. In the late Stone Age, the immigrants from what we would call present-day Spain, Portugal, which is over here in the map. Sorry, you see the green? They came from there and went down here to what we call the British Islands. Around 2000 BC, we have the Stonehenge was built. We don't really know how they were built, but we do know that each large stone stands, the shortest one is 6 feet tall. Right? There are ones taller than that. And they each measure 3 to 4 feet wide. So pretty big. Each stone weighs about 4 tons. Right? That's about 8,000 pounds. The climate of the area, there's a lot of rain and a lot of fog. You do have, they call it the rolling green hills in the summer, but not a lot. Right? It's cool, it's gray, it's overcast, it rains a lot. All right, so let's get into how English came to be. After that, between 800 and 600 BC, the Celts moved down. Right? They migrated to the British Islands. And it is Celts, not Celtics, not Celts, but Celts. Right? We had two groups. We had the Brythons, and they settled on the large island, what we would now call today Britain. And we had the Gaels, who settled on what we would call today Ireland. So you can see some settled here in Ireland somewhere, and the others settled over here. So what kind of people were the Celts? Well, they were just your average people. They were farmers and they were hunters, right? They lived in small communities. Each community had a leader called chieftains. Right? They also had their own priests. The priest is called druids. And the priest would perform religious rituals. They carried the oral tradition, and they settled disputes among the clans. Now, keep in mind that we didn't really have a lot of form of writing. at this period. So everything had to be memorized. All these tales and stories and Bible verses, all this had to be memorized and then told verbally to pass down the word. And that's what our priests did. Then 55 BC, Julius Caesar decides he invades Britain. He declared it a province of Rome. So now we have Britain under Rome. In 43 AD, Claudius brought the Roman legions, which are soldiers, to the area. Now, the Roman soldiers, these Roman legions, they were known to be cruel. Right? So some of the Celts ran away. They fled up to the north to get out of the way. And some of them just stayed and assimilated. Now, anytime that you have two cultures that come together, right, whichever one you deem the dominant culture, the other one is still going to influence that dominant culture because they already have their customs, their tradition, their language, their dialect, right? But some of that is going to mix in. So we started getting from the Celts some of the English words. Now, on your map, you're going to draw the migrations of the groups we have mentioned so far as they have invaded the British. And I'm going to see if I can bring up that map. All right. So I want to mark this. So we know one thing, Rome is over here. And we know that they came over here. I'm going back just to make sure we get the map. So we know that from here, Spain, it also went down there. All right. So there are our two markings. So the Romans actually did a lot. They built roads, And they built many castra or camps. They built towns. They brought a lot of civilized things with them, such as baths, glass windows, pools, temples, good wine, aqueducts. So they taught the Celts that chose to stay there, they did teach them a lot about civilization. In 407, the Romans have to leave. Somebody's attacking their home, so they go home. Well, this leaves Britain with no defense, right? Anybody could come in and attack and take over. They didn't really have a military once the Romans left. So what happened? Well, remember those Celts I said that moved north to get away from those cruel Roman soldiers? They came back to reclaim their lands from 300 years earlier. Right? So these aren't even the same people that left. It's their great, 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 great grandma, grandpa, uncle, aunt. Right? But they came back. When Roman soldiers left, the Celts came back down to take back the land that they say was theirs. They did hire missionaries from Germany. So we're looking at Germany right here, and we draw a line down here. So what is a mercenary? It's someone that you pay to take care of a problem, right? To come and fight. They're usually not as dedicated because they don't live there. It doesn't matter to them who wins or not. Right. In 432, St. Patrick went to Ireland to spread Christianity. He was going to spread that to the Celts. And the pre-English languages we have there: Welsh, Cornish, and Irish Gaelic. Now the Celtic cross. This is where we start combining religious things, right? The cross, of course, is a Christian symbol. The Celtic cross has the cross, but it also has a circle of the sundial. Right. So this is where we get into English, 449 AD, and we call this Old English. 449 is when the Old English period started, because it marks the beginning of the Anglo Saxon invasion. There are 4 tribes from Germany, Denmark. They were the Angles, the Saxons, the Jutes, and the Frisians. Have you heard of King Arthur? Knight at the Round Table. Well, he was a Celt, and what he did was he helped Britain from invading the tribes. At this time, though, a lot of the Celts fled. They ran away. Right? The Anglo Saxons, they were pagans. They were not Christians. They believed in many gods. Right? And you have Thor, right? The god of thunder, lightning. Some of our days are even named after these Anglo-Saxon gods. Woden's Day is Wednesday. Thunder's Day is Thursday. So we still use some of those. Right? And you still have Tuesday, the god of warfare. Right, so in 1597, St. Augustine founded a Christian monastery at Canterbury. When we read the Canterbury Tales, that's our second thing to read, you'll learn more about the town Canterbury. He also became the first Archbishop of Canterbury. All right, now on to Beowulf. All right, so around 750, Beowulf is composed, but nobody knows who wrote it. This is a story that has been told word of mouth for generations, and most likely a monk decided to write it down. So now we're to 800 AD. We have the Danish invasion begins. The Vikings sacked the monasteries and they destroyed just about everything. In 850, most of England was called Danelaw. So remember when the Vikings came in, what precious writing we have, they destroyed. And there's one copy of Beowulf that is not destroyed. All right, so you're going to mark your map. You know, from Spain and Portugal, those two came down to the Great Island. Right, in 871, Alfred the Great becomes king, and he wants to refocus the country back on learning and education. Right, and one of the first things was Bede's Ecclesiastical History of the English People, and this was translated into Old English. Before this time, everybody read either did Latin or Hebrew. And the common people did not learn how to read. That was a waste of time. Right, so in 1892, Alfred the Great begins the Anglo Saxon Chronicle. This is where he's taking their writings and putting them in Old English. Right, in 1042, Edward the Confessor becomes King of England. He is a devout Christian. He is Norman on his mother's side. Right, and succeeded by his son, King Harold. Right, so in 1066, we have the Norman invasion. William the Conqueror comes from France, and he conquers the Anglo Saxon at the Battle of Hastings. This marks the end of Old English and starts Middle English, period. Please don't forget to fill out your maps. And when you finish those notes, thank you, turn them in.